Welcome to China Truths. Today we will bring you the following stories. Unusual CCP statement sparks speculation. Is Xi Jinping losing power? China's marriage registrations hit new low. China files WTO complaint over EU's tariff hike on Chinese EVs. Now, let's dive into the details. China Truths. Unusual CCP statement sparks speculation. Is Xi Jinping losing power? Abnormalities in a recent Chinese Communist Party (CCP) meeting's official statement may signal Chinese leader Xi Jinping losing power, China experts say. An official statement for the CCP's Political Bureau or Politburo meeting on October 28, which contains several anomalies compared to past meetings, led to speculations of shifts in power within China's upper echelons. Three main anomalies were highlighted. The phrase Xi Jinping thought, which is a standard inclusion in the past meetings, was absent. The commonly referenced expression of two establishments was also missing. More importantly, it included an unusual call for party committees to strictly implement democratic centralism, promoting leaders to be able to step up and down. The omission of standard expressions such as Xi Jinping thought and two establishments cannot simply be explained as an editing error by the propaganda system, Tang Jingyuan, a US-based China affairs specialist and senior commentator said. The expressions were introduced during Xi Jinping's leadership at the 6th plenary session of the CCP's 19th Central Committee in November 2021. The slogan, which reads in full as establishing Comrade Xi Jinping's core position in the Party Central Committee and the core status of the entire party, and establishing the guiding position of Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, has been widely viewed as a step to further solidify Xi's leadership within the party. The new call for top leaders to be able to step up and down also carries specific implications, according to Tang. It could suggest that Xi Jinping's single authority is precarious and that the party might be returning to a model of collective leadership, Tang said. Frank Chien, a senior political and economic analyst, agrees that the wording indicates a diminished status for Xi. It suggests that significant and public power adjustments within the CCP are likely occurring. What's happening now appears to be a gradual process of transition, Chien said. He noted another difference in the statement, the emphasis on seriously implementing the decisions from the third plenary session of the 20th Central Committee. The third plenary session of the 20th Central Committee, scheduled on July 15 to 18, marked a significant turning point since Xi's consolidation of power at the 19th National Party Congress in 2017 and signaled the beginning of a dramatic shift in the upper echelons of the CCP, Chien said. The meeting no longer solely emphasized loyalty to Xi Jinping himself, external struggles, a return to Maoist-style governance, or attacks on private enterprises. Instead, it began to stress reform and opening up, with a focus on centralized leadership, almost a 180-degree turn from the personal authoritarian trajectory of the past few years under Xi. Chien said it was precisely after the session that a series of unusual things happened within the CCP's upper echelons, suggesting a reduction in Xi's power. The strange occurrences include state media Xinhua news agencies taking down of its special feature titled Reformer Xi Jinping during the session and the disappearance of Xi's presence on the front pages of party media after the session. The signs of Xi's losing power draw speculations on who will fill the remaining power vacuum, and if an intense struggle is bound to occur. The analysts point to Zhang Youxia, the vice chairman of the CCP's Central Military Commission, CMC. From October 24 to 26, Zhang visited Vietnam, where he had high-level meetings with Vietnamese Communist Party chief To Lam, as well as Vietnamese President Luong Quang and several high-ranking military officials. Zhang also chaired two events on October 14 and 15, a two-day conference urging military officials to study modern warfare and combat theories, and a meeting with Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov. During the period, Xi toured Fujian, the southern coastal province facing Taiwan. Zhang is receiving a lot of attention and seems to be emerging as a core figure within the party. The overall power within the CMC may be in his hands, China expert Wang Yi said. Wang cited the example of former Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping, who regained power after the Cultural Revolution by ousting then CCP chairman Hua Guofeng and taking control of the military. When Deng visited the United States in 1979, he only had the title of vice premier, yet he was received at the level of a head of state because the U.S. understood in advance that real power within the party rested with Deng, Wang said. While Zhang Youxia's current position is similar to Deng Xiaoping's back then, Wang noted that the key difference is that Zhang is a veteran military leader without government experience, as well as a princeling, who has a natural connection to the older generation of CCP leaders. Zhang may collaborate with these political elders to promote democratic centralism and restore collective leadership, limiting Xi Jinping's power, Wang said. However, they can't just remove Xi Jinping all at once, they still have him in the front while shifting towards collective leadership, Wang said. That's why the recent Politburo meeting statement included a rare mention of democratic centralism and pushed leaders to be able to step up and down. Who will step down? This is largely aimed at Xi Jinping. In the near future, the CCP may announce how it will address Xi Jinping's power situation, but for now, various factions are still contesting behind the scenes, Wang concluded. China's marriage registrations hit new low. China has recorded a new low in marriage registrations, with total registrations dropping to 4.747 million couples for the first 3 quarters of 2024, a year-on-year decrease of over 15.5%. According to the data published on November 1 by China's Ministry of Civil Affairs, marriage registrations nationwide for the first 9 months of 2024 were 4.747 million couples, down from 5.690 million in the same period last year, or a reduction of 943,000 couples. Notably, marriage registrations in the first half of 2024 were already at a near-record low, decreasing by 494,000 couples year-on-year. This means that from July to September, the number of marriage registrations plummeted by 445,000 couples. According to the Ministry of Civil Affairs statistical data, the country's marriage registrations had been on a downward trend for several years prior to a slight recovery in 2023. China watchers attributed the reluctance of young people to get married to the high unemployment rate and rising living costs. Many people I know, including college graduates and some postgraduates, are currently unemployed and staying at home, Ji Feng, a leader of the Guizhou University Students' Autonomous Federation during the 1989 student protests, said in June. The economic downturn has left many struggling to afford even basic meals, shifting priorities towards survival above all else. For most, marriage has taken a back seat. While in Feng's time, the typical age to get married was 25, many young people in China today remain single into their 30s. The primary focus is now on securing a livelihood, finding employment, and pursuing meaningful work. Survival has become the utmost priority, Ji said. Chinese lawmakers, who find the sign troubling, have revised a draft law to make it simpler to register for marriage and more difficult to get a divorce. On August 13, the Ministry of Civil Affairs released a draft for public consultation on the regulations on marriage registration, revised draft, which states that marriage registration will no longer require a household registration book while filing for divorce will be subject to a 30-day cooling-off period. Chinese leader Xi Jinping said that women have a critical role and must establish a new trend of family. Doing a good job in women's work is not only related to women's own development but also to family harmony, social harmony, national development, and national progress, Xi said in late 2023. He said it is necessary to actively cultivate a new culture of marriage and childbearing and strengthen guidance on young people's view on marriage, childbirth, and family. Analysts predict that 2024 will see the fewest marriage registrations in China since 1980, which can affect the birth rate. In the past decade, the number of marriage registrations in the first 3 quarters generally accounted for between 72 and 79% of the year, said He Yafu, the author of Population Crisis, reflecting on China's family planning policy. Therefore, he said, it is expected that this year's total marriage registrations will be between 6.01 million and 6.59 million couples, with a median of around 6.3 million couples. Even if it reaches the upper number of 6.59 million couples, it will still be fewer than the number of marriage registrations in 2022, he said, adding that the decline in marriage registrations this year also suggests a drop in birth rates for next year. China files WTO complaint over EU's tariff hike on Chinese EVs. The Chinese government said on November 4 that it had lodged a formal complaint at the World Trade Organization, WTO, against the European Union's decision to impose definitive duties on electronic vehicles, or EVs, made in China, escalating trade tensions between Beijing and the 27-nation bloc. Brussels began to collect extra tariffs on EVs shipped from China on October 30. These definitive duties, which will remain in place for the next 5 years, are the result of a year-long investigation conducted by the European Commission, which found that Chinese EVs have been receiving substantial state subsidies that threaten to cause economic injury to the EU's automakers. In an online statement, a spokesperson for China's Ministry of Commerce reiterated Beijing's opposition to the EU's move, saying that its complaint lodged with the WTO's dispute settlement mechanism is intended to safeguard the development interests of the EV industry and global green transformation cooperation. The ministry said the EU's final ruling lacked a factual and legal basis and violated the WTO rules, calling the decision an abuse of trade remedy measures and a form of trade protectionism in the name of countervailing. In response, the European Commission expressed confidence that its investigation into state subsidies for Chinese EVs and the measures being implemented fully adhere to WTO guidelines. The Commission has now, after more than a year's careful work, concluded its detailed and fact-based anti-subsidy investigation, a spokesperson of the EU's executive body said. We have done so in full respect of all relevant EU and WTO rules. The spokesperson added that the Commission takes notes of China's request for WTO consultations and will study all the details and react to the Chinese authorities in due course, according to WTO procedures. Beijing announced the complaint ahead of a potential visit by European officials to China aimed at addressing the ongoing trade dispute. On November 1, the Chinese Commerce Ministry confirmed that a delegation from the EU will travel to China to continue discussions on the details of price commitment plans. If both parties can reach an agreement, these plans could serve as an alternative to the current levies. While Brussels has not issued a formal statement regarding the trip, officials have previously confirmed the commitment to continue dialogue with China despite the tariffs in place. So far, 8 rounds of consultations have failed to yield significant progress. The EU launched a probe into imports of Chinese EVs in October 2023 and unveiled its proposals to impose provisional duties in July this year. At the time, the EU said that extra levies were intended to remove the substantial unfair competitive advantage enjoyed by the Chinese EV supply chains due to China's unfair subsidy schemes. China rejected these criticisms and, in August, its Commerce Ministry launched a dispute with the WTO over the EU's provisional measures. Beijing also opened its own anti-subsidy review of the EU's pork and dairy imports, and is now exploring the possibility of hiking the levies on imports of large engine vehicles. In October, China introduced provisional measures against European brandy imports, a decision widely seen as a jab at France, a main backer of slapping additional duties on Chinese EVs. During a meeting with Chinese Commerce Minister Wang Wentao on November 3, French Junior Trade Minister Sophie Primas expressed the EU's intention to avoid escalating tensions. The EU remains committed to continuing its trade with China but will not yield to pressure on the essential points, Primas said during the meeting with Wang in Shanghai, according to her press office. We will continue to defend fairer competition that benefits everyone.